Anyone have any issues with submissions or anything? All right. So typically that's our exam structure. You should be expecting that moving forward. I'll try to give you enough time so you can answer everything in the way that you can fit. But moving along, I'll post the submissions for Journal 1, Journal 2, so you can be working on those if you so choose. Also, don't forget your research participation, that's in the syllabus. I may start receiving emails about research that you can participate in the near future. And then our group presentations, we'll get those assigned. We didn't get those assigned yet, right? No group presentations assigned. All right, maybe we'll do that at the end of class, and we'll get into groups with our topics, and we'll work on dates, presentation dates. All right, moving along. Chapter 4, we are in development through the lifespan. So we're going to look at prenatal development. We're going to look at the creation of the fetus. And we'll also look at childhood development, how the brain develops and how that impacts behavior, and how nature also affects our mental stages. All right, so our main theme in psychology is the nature and nurture debate. You know, which one is more powerful? Is it our genetics, right? Our physical chemistry that makes us up, that influences our behavior, our thoughts, our feelings? Or is it the environment? We know that evolution is a thing, right? Thus, if you move through any environment over a long period of time, you will begin to adapt subconsciously, right? Automatically. We could look at different species of animals to see how they got to look and behave the way that they behave, and that was according to the environment. Which one is more powerful? If you had to pick one. Nature or nurture? Which one's more influential from your point of view? What do you think? Think about it. Think about how, oh wait. Were you gonna say something?
I was gonna say nurture.
Nature. Why? What's the argument behind that?
The argument for nurture is, examples of like feral children, if you don't like teach kids, like math, if you don't teach kids math between the ages like 1 to 5, like they're not gonna pick up counting stuff. Like a lot of like early developmental stuff is completely based on nurture.
All right, so we say nurture. Why? Because we say, well, there's a critical stage in development, right? And if you don't get the right appropriate conditioning, learning tools, etc., then later on in life, you won't be able to progress in any average or above average means. Anyone else? What do you think, Will?
Me?
Yeah.
I think they're very closely tied, and just like kind of devil's advocate, the way I see it is, yes, all of those things are true about the nurture, or no, it's
Nurture.
that was argument of nurture. The nature of the environment is, okay, you could say the same thing, but still they're environment deprived of certain things, so they just were environment deprived of humans, so you're not gonna pick up human traits, yet it's still adapted to its environment that was in extremely well. Like the feral children are still alive. There was one where there were like an abused child in the house, and they like didn't really talk and stuff. And it was one of those things, but the child was still very functional, just in a very twisted way that we don't normally see it, but it's entirely based on its environment. So I see them as extremely both influential.
Yeah, so maybe we could say they're interrelated some way, right? Because really think about it, passing on genetics is part of passing on your nurture as well too, right? The nurture of your predecessors, mom and dad, their experiences through their environments. All right, so let's get into it, right? How does genetic inheritance interact with experiences to influence development, right? So we see that they're interlinked in some way. Continuity and stages, what part of development are gradual and continuous, which parts change abruptly in separate stages. So we look at different stages of childhood development by Jean Piaget and some others, and then stability and change, which traits persist throughout life. So we say, hey, well, we only, at the beginning of our lives, there may be some things we only need to know at that particular period, then we move on, right? It's not necessary to keep those particular traits, but there are some traits that may persist throughout the rest of our lives, right? In which case, it's kind of Freudian theory, meaning that in some ways we're just nothing more than big children, right? We're just big little people in a more complex environment. All right, so we're gonna look at how the sperm matches with an egg to produce a fetus. So we say here, at each prenatal stage, genetic and environmental factors affect development, such as language learning in utero, right? So in utero, the fetus can learn language based on hearing from mom's exterior environment, hearing from mom's voice, right? The exchange of communication that affects the fetus, all right? Preference for mother's voice and language and some environmental sounds. Obviously, if you're coming through your mother, you may have a preference for that particular sound, but that's usually the first human sound that you will be exposed to over a prolonged period of time. Placenta screens out most harmful substances. Some slip by, such as teratogens. As we look at facial migration, stages of facial migration, if you are consuming tons of alcohol in that particular stage and have fetal alcohol syndrome, usually you can see an adult that has sort of misaligned facial features, right? One eye may be a little droopy, nose may seem a little off mouth. And that's usually with the exposure of alcohol during really early critical stages with facial migration. Maternal stress increase, health for risk problems, hypertension for children, other things leading to childhood diabetes, increase in cortisol levels. Let's see, we're supposed to get some other stuff. All right, so maybe we could just kind of breeze through this. So we say maybe on average the number varies, but a male usually releases 20 to 150 million sperm through ejaculation, right? And that sperm travels up through the cervix to the fallopian tubes to try to meet with one egg, right? Just one egg. Now we say only one sperm makes it if a fetus is to be created, which means that it is a miracle that you're alive, right? Think about that. Right? Where's your other 150 million brothers and sisters, right? So think about that. You're just a result of the one that passed through after how many times, how many different sexual experiences one may have had. Look at 8 billion human beings, multiply that number, and usually we are a miracle if we do the math. All right, so one sperm meets an egg, and that sperm, if it does meet the egg, it will usually break through the shell of the egg, right? Breaks through the shell, get inside, and they form a cell. Over time, that cell will replicate, it'll merge into 2 cells will duplicate, become 4 becomes 8, 16, up to the point to where it becomes 100 cells, and that becomes usually what we call a cytoblast, right? And the cytoblast usually starts to show figures of what the human being will start to form. You're like, wow, this looks like an alien, right? Like in the movie Aliens, so what's happening here? Usually one of the first structures that comes is the brain and the spinal cord. I don't know if I mentioned before, but the brain and the spinal cord are fused together. So if you cut open the head and try to pull out the brain and yank it out with a contraption, you'll probably pull out the entire spine too. They're that fused together. They're not like separate different components, as one may think. right? And so we start to develop, and then we'll have a little bit of facial migration here, right? You can say, all right, maybe you can see an eye, maybe some lips, a chin, right? They're starting to develop to come to here. And usually when we're looking at teratologies, that female alcohol syndrome, fetal alcohol syndrome, you can get displacement of facial features, right? Which are very evident. But here we see this is a healthy fetus being developed. All right, newborns are born with innate skills, right? Skills that don't need to be taught. Things that are innate, that are automatic, that are already born with this information. One of them is rooting. Right? In order to get milk from a mother's breast, the child has to root. And typically your rooting is the clamping onto the breast in such a way that you're able to extract the milk. And it may not be as simple as you think, as we would as adults, like sucking through a straw. Particularly children, not children, but babies, will suck in a way that they move their jaw back and forth, and they're very, very hard, right? And they're sucking very, very extremely hard. So they know exactly how to get the milk out at birth, right? There's no instructions needed, it's already there. We have some things that may be a little bit of evolutionary throwback, such as startle. Startle is, anyone ever startled a baby before? Yeah? So if you like just pop in on a baby kind of goes crazy, just like, right? These sort of evolutionary throwbacks. And usually that may, well, theoretically, be from our primate ancestors, in which case they were climbing trees at very high elevations, and startling would exhibit maybe a propensity to fall so that mom can hurry up and catch baby, right? That's our theory. Grasping, babies have ninja grips. So babies grab on very, very tightly, almost to the point where you probably can lift them up if they're holding on with one arm, right? And once again, we think this is a real evolutionary throwback, because obviously if you're climbing trees, you would need to hold on very tightly, because it would be a matter of life and death, right? All right, some research that exhibits some maternal scent, that babies have an inclination towards mom's smell. Babies also have gazing, which is sort of this sort of fixation of the eyes, looking at object permanence, trying to fixate on certain things, as well as habituation. Now, we were talking about brain development. There may be an even better one, but let's go through here. So we say, hey, we're looking at the connections between neurons and synapses. Right, so we say here, newborn stage, very low activity, very low connections, right? We say things are not connected, there's a ton of gaps, so information is not freely and flowing through, right? So there's things that still need to be learned. Here at 3 months, we see, okay, there's a form of connections, associations, things to other things, making sense of things, being linked with other things. And we can see here at 15 months, there's just a whole robust system for where all sorts of information could be processed through. All right, so we got explosive growth in developmental prenatal brain, rapid neural network branching and linking after birth. Most rapid frontal lobes growth from 3 to 6 years. Development continues into adolescence and beyond. So from 3 to 6 years is usually where you have sort of the most activity of connecting your neural network, right? Because now you're learning real sort of maybe long-term things that are critical to survival. And we'll look at those stages in the next few slides. Neural pruning process shuts down unused links, which means if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So you may behavior that you exhibited as a baby, now you may find at 3 years old to be of no use, and so you move on, and you disassociate those things to be of anything relevant to your environment. So we say nature and nurture interaction sculpts the synapses, right? So we say it's a shared experience. Your environment is both your genetics, right? Your sensitivities to things, your adaptability to things, and then also that environment working on that. All right, so here we can show, hey, environment. Let's take a look at environment. So we have a mouse in a very simple environment, which they describe as an impoverished one. So let's try to relate the mouse to a human being, right? Human being in a very simple environment. Nothing here to engage in other than there's some water, maybe we'll drop some food in. Right? You're not gonna die, so you have water, you're gonna have food, but what are you gonna do with all of that time, all that idle time? You're gonna do nothing, right? What are you gonna learn, how you're gonna be conditioned? You're not. So we say, hey, here's an impoverished rat brain cell. We say this is very simple, right? Maybe connections to just get food, maybe you're just trying to observe and get out, right? And these associations, potentially, there's openings at the top that you can't get out, so maybe eventually you give up on that idea. So you just have a very limited neural network. Now we say, what if you take that same mouse and put him in a cage where it's socialized, right? Through this process of socialization and interaction with different things in the environment, obstacles, challenges, problems, right? Things to play with, engage with, other mice to observe and learn from, right? What are their behaviors? Is what they do important, right? Is what they do something I should do, right? So we look at that red brain cell and say, wow, we can clearly see that there's a difference in the brain structures, right? Well, the neural networks. This one's far more robust than this one, and all through the process of socialization and creating obstacles and challenges for people to learn. All right, motor development. We got universal motor development, sequence, skill development, tied to infants' exercise and maturing muscles and nervous systems relative to genes and culture. We don't need to know that much about that. All right, Jean Piaget. Anyone ever heard of Piaget? Anyone? Piaget? Yeah. All right, Piaget, I believe, was originally a biologist, and he focused a lot on the behavior of his children. He started there, kind of studying their behavior, and began to develop some theories on how children develop throughout the lifespan. And we're going to look at some of his thinking, right, and some of our current thinking on the subject. Right, children construct their understanding of the world while interacting with it. Children develop mental models, which is the periods of change, stability, and movement to the next cognitive stage with distinctive characteristics and thinking are experienced. Mental models, we're talking about things where you have a concept of a phenomena, an object, a person, something. Right? You currently have a mental model as well too. You have a model of what a professor would be, what homework is, right? And what love is, right? What work is. And so these, we'll look at schema, assimilation, and accommodation. But as we think about this, the way we want to examine, well, everything at these critical stages matter, and they matter so much. So much that a lot of the stuff continues on into adulthood. So much that the interactions at these stages probably create most of who you are today in terms of your behavior, your own persona, your personality, right? Whether you're introvert, whether you're an extrovert, right? Whether you have attachment issues, you get in a relationship and you can't live without the person. You got detachment, right? You get in a relationship, you don't like to be bothered, right? Maybe your own communications with people, maybe they're poor communication skills. Right, so we'll be thinking of how critical these stages are to even the adult life. All right, so we got our first stage, right, from birth to age 2. We call this the sensorimotor stage. Critical stage in order so you can observe how to move, most important throughout the senses, right? Colors, shapes, right? Things of that nature. You think of a baby is usually being taught, it's like a YouTube channel that they're watching, is red, blue, green, learning all the colors, learning all the shades, right? And then learning through senses and action is gradual unfolding of object permanence. Object permanence is sort of discernment on the movement of objects. You know, for example, we'll show the cardboard box sort of thing, right? Where you can put sort of a teddy bear on like a stage platform, put a cardboard box in front of it, move the teddy bear away, pull the thing, and the baby's like, where's the teddy bear? Right? For us, very simply, someone's hand, we saw the hand and took it away. Right? For a baby, that takes a little bit of more skill to realize that, oh, there's a hand and there's a cardboard box that comes in front. These are the stages that happen. Maybe if someone were to remove an object of some sort, right? Very critical in kind of how we even use for driving and navigating through life. Okay, pre-operational stage. After that, we say until age 6 or 7. Things represented with words and images, right? So we say most things at this stage, up until the age 6, usually 7, we say things are just represented with words and images. Flashcards, right? So you pull out flashcards and you're showing images and you have the child repeat the words, right? This is usually how they make sense of most of their communication with adults. All right, unable to perform mental operations, you're not getting any algebraic problem solving in this stage. Things are very simple, right? Maybe one, you know, the counting, 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? Lack of the concept of conservation, right? So the conservation of many things, which is even conservation of energy, right? So children usually use up all their energy until they pass out and go to sleep, or maybe wasteful in a lot of ways. There's no concept of conservation. All right, symbolic thinking can pretend play appear earlier than Piaget predicted, right? So my son is 4, my daughter will be 3 next in March, and my daughter's already doing sort of pretend play, right? Pretending like she's a character she's seeing on a cartoon, right? My son, he's been doing that. But my daughter, she's still 2, she's been doing this for a few months. And so we say, hey, we can see that personalities even begin to come out as early as like 2 years old, right? Forming personalities, the observance of a personality through characters that are being seen, maybe on television or something of the sort, right? So pretend play is important because of symbolic thinking about symbolisms. Who is a person, right? What do they do, right? What kind of people do what? Bus drivers and police officers on cartoons, what do they do? And we got egocentrism, right? So the ego is pretty large in comparison to other facets of the personality. We say inability to take point of view of others, right? There may be a lack of even empathy at this stage, which is usually it's just all about me, right? And you know that you just hurt this other person, and it's more what they did to me. Right? There's never no recognition of how things may feel to others. And the theory of mind gradually develops. The concept of mentality, right? The concept of having your own thoughts and what they mean, which means like introspection, reflection, right? Thinking about thoughts, thinking about your own behaviors. All right, so we're looking at that object permanence, and this one's correlated to baby math. So we say here we have a little bit of a cardboard stage with a cutout here before we pass through. We got a little lid here to flip in front when we need to. Let's say baby's over here, observing what's what's happening. We put in 2 little teddy bears, we cover this up, right? Baby can still see hand, disappear, and move. Right? We take away an object, then we say, well, what's the math? Well, possible outcomes, right? Spring drops revealing 1 object, or impossible outcomes. Spring drops revealing 2 objects. We just seen him take 1 away, right? So it would be impossible for us as adults to say, well, there wouldn't be 2. We just saw him remove 1, right? But still, babies are still trying to figure out, how is this possible that one of these things are gone? What just happened? So that's the object permanence. It's a fixation on usually the first things being seen without having discernment of things that come after the fact, right? Phenomena that comes after the fact. All right, so after that, we got concrete operational stage, which is about age 7 to 11 years. So here we say improved mental operations enable logical thinking about concrete events, analogies, right? Ton of analogies. This is like this, bless you. This is like this is like that. Right? We say all the way up to maybe, we're talking maybe 5th grade or something like that, right? Comprehension of mathematical transformation and conservation. Right? So we say you are a little bit more conservative. You are thinking about, no, that's my apple, I need to save that, right? That's my sandwich, I need to save that, right? Mine, I need to kind of take care of my own in some way. And you get a little bit of mathematical transformation here, right? We may begin doing a little bit of arithmetic, multiplication, maybe a little bit of division, simple math. Past that, we got our formal operational stage, about 12 years old onward through puberty. Our reasoning about actual experiences evolves to include abstract thinking. Right? So you start to get very, very creative thinking, maybe even questioning some of the things you have learned, right? Or mixing things together that you have learned to come up with new concepts, schemes, etc. All right, initially includes imagined realities and symbols, then hypothetical propositions and deductions of consequences, approaching adolescence. So you got a lot of daydreaming here too. All right, let's end there for lecture and let's think about our groups. So, see how many people here. Who remembers who sits by there if they're not here? Are there people that's not here that sit next to you in some capacity? Well, anybody sit next to you? No? Okay. All right, so I'm gonna make sure that we include everyone. Let's do this. Let's do 4 groups. Now, actually, let's do 5. We'll do groups of 2. Groups of 2. So someone needs to get with Will. Will needs to join Will in the group. We'll see. You 2 could get group. Where are you?
They're together, pair.
Okay.
Choose
All right, cool.
Unless you don't like me.
So, you 2 ladies? Okay. You 2? You 2 in the back? You 2. All right, and do me a favor, write everyone's name down in the group, and I'll tell you their number.
You want it on a hard piece of paper, just call it out to you.
No, email it to me. After class or whatever, or you can do it now too. But here, I'm gonna give you your topics.
I'm so sorry. It's
us our topic?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you your topics now. Okay, group one. All right, group one. Your topic is psychological insights into online dating.
Let's go.
Right? And these presentations are pretty open-ended, meaning I'm leaving it up to you to do your own research to find out things you think are important or relevant to the field of psychology, research that you have come across that are interesting, some of the themes and perspectives. All right, group two. Psychological insights into modern American politics. Right? Trying to understand the behavior of American politics. Why we choose and what we choose, the different dynamics and all that. All right, group three. Psychological insights into the social dynamics of high school. So here we want to talk about the social dynamics. High school, maybe different stages, right? Behaviorally, socialization process, right? Groupthink, social forces, all of the different things. But group four, which would be here. Psychological insights into the mindset of Gen Z. Mindset of Gen Z. All right, in group five, psychological insights into anxiety stemming from young adulthood. Anxieties stemming from young adulthood. All right, so let me think of dates. Let's look at dates. All right, group one. What do you prefer, Monday presentations or Wednesdays? What do you think you prefer?
Wednesdays.
Yeah, right, middle of the week, I think, right? Okay. So let's say we'll do all Wednesdays, starting with group one. Group one, let's do Valentine's Day, we'll start there. That's Wednesday, February 14th. Group two, you'll take the 21st. Group three, the 28th of February, Wednesday. So we got spring break, the following week. So group four, take March 13th. Group five, take the 20th. commercial. That'd be good. Presentation lengths, no, say maybe 15 minutes, right? 15 minutes is a good amount for a presentation, right? There's only two of you, so about 7.5 minutes each, and then we'll have maybe 10 minutes of Q&A beyond that. Anyone here has any anxieties from talking in front of the class? How you gonna work around that? What can we do to help you out? Let's go for it.
Everybody turn around and face the other way.
What's that?
Said everybody turn around and face the other way.
I'll take that. However, it needs class.
So let's think about that, right? Who else doesn't like talking in front of large audiences? So what is it about talking in front of people? What's the issue?
I don't like all the eyes.
You don't like a bunch of people looking and observing at you at the same time.
Makes me nervous.
Makes you nervous. Why? You.
I don't like being considered.
You like people are judging you or something? Okay. Who can give some advice for that? Anyone to think of how to address not like, maybe thinking people are judging you or too many eyes on you? What can we do? What can be done?
Okay, what I do is I just try not to look directly into people's eyes. I try to look right past them. I don't really focus. I try to really like tunnel vision into everything I class.
Now, when you present, do you look around or you just stick to what?
No, I look around. I just,
You look around, but you don't fixate on one person. You just scan it. Right? Okay. That's a good point. Yes.
I guess if you're well prepared, it comes what you're seeing, you're confident in these things that you need.
Okay. Now, does it have anything to do with like being prepared and know what you're talking about or anything like that or not?
I guess when I'm prepared, I'm more confident, but as soon as
Yeah.
I just stumble.
I would say it's always not good to have a bunch of paragraphs in your presentation where you have to turn around and look at what you wrote, right? So usually the theory is just to have bullet points of ideas, right? I think every bullet point is just an idea. It's a concept, right, about something. So although you may be trying to describe a definition or the meaning of something, you should more importantly try to describe the idea of something. And if you describe an idea of something, that's very easy to talk about. The idea of anything, right? So I would say think of approaching everything up here, maybe 3 bullet points per slide, and every bullet point is just an idea. So you can glance, you see the idea, and you go around with the idea. As opposed to having a paragraph, and now you gotta look up the whole thing word for word to try to help yourself remember. Anyone else? Anxieties? Alright, if there's anything, maybe I'll see if I can bring a stress ball or something for people to hold on to while you talk, see if that can help. Okay, let's end off today a few minutes early, get out of here, and I will see you on Wednesday. The exams will probably be graded by next week, Monday. And I'll get up the journal submissions on the Blackboard so we start on the journal.
I sent you a fax.
Alright,